good evening, good afternoon. I'm just gonna invite my colleague and dear Federica, and we'll start on our topic tonight.
Yay!
Yes.
Hello.
Hi. Hello. I was fiddling around with Instagram, sending invites, going in and back from live mode.
Ah,
But
okay.
anyways,
Yeah. Oh, hi, Frederik. Frederik is here. Uh, I was in the other live, but I think I was too late with my live request.
okay. Technical bits, never mind.
Never mind. Hey, everyone. Hello, Sasha.
Hello everyone, ladies, gents. If anybody's joining, I'm actually taking off my glasses for to kind of like because it has a bit of a glare, so I don't like that glare, so I kind of just taking it
Hi,
off.
Inka.
So yeah, so welcome to our live. Is actually we have not rehearsed, we have not bullet pointed this. This
No.
is very authentic and vulnerable sharing, really. Conversation that only brave souls, only brave women can have. So today we are talking about our own experience of something which is very much still a taboo topic in society. So we're talking about miscarriages and we're talking about abortions. And I guess I will start off. I don't know, Federica, if you wanted to introduce yourself, those who might be watching this on Federica's channel. My name is Ruta Ka. I'm emotional well-being practitioner, trauma integration specialist, and holistic womb healing enthusiast. And I know Federica for already few years. She's dear and precious friend that I have, as well as a colleague, and we are very much on the same type of mission with slightly different skill set. So, if you wanted to introduce yourself.
Sure. Thanks, first of all. Yeah, my name is Federica. I'm a singer and I'm a trauma release and voice activation coach. What that means is basically we're gonna look at all the ways in which you would like to express yourself, but you aren't, and we're going to release whatever is standing in your way. And we will also use really like singing and physical voice activation techniques along the way. And yeah, I can just give back to you, Ruta, what you said about me. So she is truly amazing, everyone who's watching. I have to say this because she's so good at unraveling things. Like whenever I tell her something, she immediately understands, and she has an incredible gift of presence and just like I don't know, I just love you.
Thank you. And
So
also the
yeah,
same,
I
sorry.
actually wanted to ask you how are you because it hasn't been like so long.
So, yeah, I am pretty good now. And just to kind of bring in everyone who might be watching this on board with what's been happening and why we are having this topic is I have been pregnant for a couple of months, and then probably approximately in a week 8 or 9, I have experienced very painful thing, which, as I learned later, many women have. But just to start with my own experience, I have experienced miscarriage. It was pretty unexpected. It was very fast. It was very painful. I end up So this is kind of vulnerable conversation, but we know that probably our circle is women, so I'm not going to censor myself too much. So I was pretty much after the miscarriage, I was probably bleeding nonstop for about 8 days with the short time. Then I started bleeding again. And that's just the physical side of all of that experience without even mentioning the whole emotional layers and things that have been coming up. That's why we're having this conversation. But so now it's been, I guess, approximately a month or so since the miscarriage has happened. And I've been taking lots of time for self-care, lots of time I was doing some work, but I was doing my sacred work. So, the type of work that is actually really like connecting with some women, connecting with some clients, but only when I felt that I'm actually well enough to do that. And I did not really overload my schedule. So I actually cleared pretty much my schedule from anything which I didn't feel that was absolutely necessary or I wanted to do. And I've been just basically resting, recharging, resting, recharging, crying, discharging my emotions as well as whatever it was happening in my body. And now I must say pretty much I'm feeling now almost cleared from that experience. I cannot say it's completely clear. And another thing which I think you will be able to resonate with me, this type of experience kind of changes you. So there is something that is happens internally that feels like kind of permanent change, or in my case, I feel it's kind of like a reset. I feel like all of that experience did something to me emotionally, physically, also spiritually. It's been pretty profound as well as it was painful. And now, if I would just say today, now I'm actually feeling pretty well. I'm actually feeling pretty normal to be honest with you. So I'm feeling emotional distance, but in a healthy way, as if something happened, but it was like 2 or 3 years ago, or maybe 4 years ago. So I have that kind of like like they say, time is not really linear. So I have that kind of like a amount of non-physical, virtual time, emotional processing time compressed in those 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. So that's where I am. And yeah, that's the place that we start from
Yeah.
our conversation too.
Yeah.
So
I mean, thank you for sharing. I just wanted to acknowledge also, like, Ruta is the first woman that had a miscarriage, and I know many of them actually. I know more women that had miscarriages than those who didn't, pretty much. And you were the first one where I felt like, you know, I feel like not but a little like fearful to share this, but
mhm,
so much of this, well, why doesn't anybody talk about this? And all the pain and also the insights remind me always so much of when I had an abortion, which for
yeah,
me that was 7 years ago, so it's not pretty recent. But of
mhm,
course, when you have a friend who's had a miscarriage, you don't want to go like, oh, like it's the same. It's not the same. It's obviously not the same. But that's why I was like, I feel like, and the thing is, like, when I started opening up, I was really, hesitant, and I didn't tell very many people in the beginning. And I was blown away by how many people told me, "Oh, did you know I had one too?" Or, "Oh, I know this person. She also." Like it happened, I was sitting with two friends, and that one woman said, "You know, I don't know if you know that of each other, but you both had an abortion."
Right.
And we had no clue, you know?
Yeah.
And so it still feels like really vulnerable to me to speak about this now, because as I was sharing with you, this is the first time that I'm ever saying this on social media, I think,
Yeah.
because maybe it's also because I'm very connected to the US culture where this is like this highly debated subject, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, the amount of tears that I cried during that week between knowing that I was pregnant at the time and letting go of that pregnancy, I mean, it was insane, you know. And what did, I mean, first of all, thanks for joining, Lisa. And Yinka, I don't know if you are still here, but feel free to participate, everyone, and ask questions or send hearts because this is like a tricky subject, and we're both like, let's try out how this goes. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I when they say be the change you want to see, that's why. That's why I think it's important to do this live, and it's risky, yes, because there are so many opinions about, especially when it comes to abortion. But I wanted to actually share something which I today somehow, because I was thinking we're going to do this live, and it kind of occurred to me. There are so many similarities. I mean, lots of people. Hi, Yinka. Yeah, I see Yinka sends a heart. Thank you for support. Um, so many people, you can't, they kind of just go into this. Is this right? Is this wrong? Do you have the right to do this? Don't you have the right to do this? Blah, blah, blah. Judgment, 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 kind of judgment, judgment. And that's it. And there are no conversations that I have seen when you can actually kind of step away from that political thing and just kind of think about this as experience from the person. What had to happen in a person's life, to kind of come to that decision? And, I was thinking about miscarriage, and I was thinking about abortion, and it's so similar in one sense. In one sense, a person who decides to choose to do abortion, they make a decision to terminate the pregnancy in their body. Person who experiences miscarriage, their body decides to terminate pregnancy in their body. You know, and I think most of the women, especially women who have some level of connection, with themselves and with the life and with the spirituality, it's never like, it doesn't matter. Either like, it's not even about decision. Sometimes you can say, it's a decision, but is it really a decision? Let's say, isn't if somebody chooses to terminate the pregnancy, does it mean there is no pain in there? Does it mean there is no emotional charge? Does it mean there is no grief in there? I mean, from my own experience through miscarriage, I could just see, I wasn't even, I guess, that far along, but I could feel the, without even kind of going very deep. And guys, ladies, I'm emotional well-being practitioner, right? So the tools and techniques, it's not like some foreign. I know about emotional well-being. However, I have been thinking, what did I do wrong? Maybe when I did this, that was wrong decision. Maybe, that was something that has caused it. Maybe there is something in me. Maybe something's wrong with me. Maybe I'm being punished. Maybe I'm punishing myself. Maybe I'm doing this to myself subconsciously. So there are so many kind of complicated and terrible emotional layers that everybody who experience that have to go to. So I think there is not enough attention that goes into that vulnerability and sensitivity, or having to experience that,
Yeah.
like having life in you, and then having to let go of it, whichever way that happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I just had a thought, it just escaped me. Where did it go? You know what helped me, or what would still help me, even though I'm not going to repeat that situation. Um, Funny side fact, the guy that would have been the father actually ended up getting another woman pregnant who also had an abortion. And I'm like, dude, like, let that happen once, but don't let it happen
Yeah.
twice, you know? Anyway, where was I going? Um, what really helped me was the fact that both you and I guess, are very spiritual. And what that means to me is very different from religion.
Yeah.
But I believe in souls.
Yeah.
And
Me too.
what helped me back then is knowing that this soul can always come back if it wants. And that maybe this soul opted into this experience for whatever reason. And I know that this soul, in my case, showed me that the guy was damn wrong for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really, really amazed by my body and by the thoughts that I had during that time, not knowing that I was pregnant, that actually got me to end that relationship. And thank God I ended that relationship.
Yeah.
And so I believe too, even in miscarriages, um, that the soul is not gone and is either around or will come back, either in the same form or maybe in a different form, and that maybe it had a message. I don't know, did you feel like there was a sort of message, or do you think it's too early for?
So I think, I actually can, I mean, we're not even gonna go to alphabet ABC of spirituality and whatever. We assume you all know about this, so we're just gonna go right into it. So the way I felt is, um, there was so much kind of reflection that I've done on all of this, and I was like, say, our souls are there before we are born, and they are there after we die. So we don't kill any souls. The way that I see it is like, for example, the way it happens, let's say with miscarriage, especially if you don't know exactly what was the reason of it, you are producing a vehicle. So in any case, miscarriage or miscarriage, pregnancy, we are producing a vehicle, a suit for soul to inhibit.
Mm-hmm.
And then either something happens and that is interrupted, maybe the production of that vehicle is not working very well. Maybe some problems in biological compatibility or something at the later state of development, and then our womb decides this is not a healthy option, this is not very compatible option. Let's discard this, let's do it again, or let's do it next time. So, like, part of me believes is there is some kind of, we cannot know everything. Like, people are still working out. Like, I mean, even about biology, people don't understand everything. We also have the spiritual side and metaphysical part that people are only having theories on, okay? So we don't know everything. We only know fraction of what's going on. And there could be so many things that may have gone wrong. I remember the night when I was experiencing the spasms and the bleeding started. I was, part of my head was like, please, 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 don't go, please, please stay, kind of. I wanted, I'm getting emotional now because I I really felt love, for whatever being I was going to bring through. At the same time, another part of me could feel, um, if this is happening, this is right. If this is happening, maybe there is some problem in development. Maybe there's some problem, incompatibility. Maybe it's not going to be a healthy body. Maybe there's not going to be a healthy pregnancy. Maybe if I'm going to force this, my body to kind of like live through this and not to have this miscarriage, maybe I'm going to have a baby who doesn't have a healthy body. Maybe I'm going to cause myself massive complications and things like that. So there were so many kind of, thoughts that were going through about what does it mean, and throughout all of that time, not even once it occurred to me that, I'm not allowing soul to come through or that the soul is somehow affected to it. I knew that intention is there. My invitation is there, but maybe something is not completely ready. Maybe I'm working with a modality called metaphysical anatomy, and the other root of that modality is about psychosomatic causes of physical ailments. So when talking about miscarriage, for example, there are many factors about subconscious fears of being able to be a parent, subconscious fears about, for example, baby not experiencing abuse, subconscious fear of not being ready, and like there are layers and layers and layers kind of things that may have caused miscarriage from the metaphysical point of view. So that's why I not like I guess regular person, but personally, miscarriage and abortion, of course, is not the same, but is it really that much different, right? Some things we cause happen in our lives, by something subconscious, unconscious, and then our body does it. Some things we causing happening into our lives by making physical decisions. At the same time, we cannot, like, at the same time, I cannot even say that we all, have complete control over it. Are we really, like, completely in control of everything that's happened? Like, I could feel so strongly that it happened also for me to let go of control. It taught me to actually, in a big, big part, to kind of let go of some insistences that I had and let go of control, like how I wanted the process to look like.
Yeah. First of all, I'm in awe of everything that you're sharing. And I keep starting to speak, and as I start to speak, I lose the thought that I'm just like, I don't know what's going on.
It's not Mercury retrograde yet, cannot be the planet.
About the decision, I want to actually share something about my process. Oh yeah, now I remember what I wanted to say. It's so interesting that your mic, by the way, you're tapping on something maybe, or it's scratching.
That's my very
Okay.
good.
Now it's better.
Yeah.
That you were just saying the moment that it was happening, you actually like yes, you had that part that wanted to keep it, but you also instantly knew it's actually right. And then like all the other thoughts and fears and all that came up was afterwards, I guess.
hmm
It was not in
Yeah.
that moment. And for me, the moment that I knew that I was pregnant, I knew I wasn't going to keep it. It was just like that. It was clear. It was I had just broken up with that person a week before. Thank God, like
hmm
honestly. And he had back then a drinking problem, big time,
hmm
and some other problems as well. And as I hear, he still does. So you have to
hmm
think that me and a potential child would have been tied to that person for life. So
hmm
like, thank God that whoever soul I'm gonna create a what did you say, a carriage for later,
Vehicle.
vehicle for
Yeah.
is going to come into a different context. But there was a moment I was in the doctor's office. There are different ways how we can do abortions, and they really wanted me to have surgery.
hmm
And they kept saying, um, you should have the surgery because otherwise, if you don't, your risk of losing too much blood or your risk of, something going wrong is so much higher.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting there, I'm going, I don't want this because why? Because I wanted to go through this process consciously.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I didn't want to just go into a doctor's office and be passed out for 20 minutes and then leave. Like, that just
Mm-hmm.
felt so wrong to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I remembered a TED talk back then, actually, that was about data and
Mm-hmm.
statistics. And I don't want to go into
Right.
that TED talk so much, but what I remembered
Mm-hmm.
from this talk is the woman kept saying, show me the data. Like, what are the actual numbers? And since the guy was like, oh, your risk of something going wrong is so much higher, blah, blah, blah. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, like, this is like 75% something goes wrong, you know? That's how it
Yeah.
sounded. And then I'm like, okay, like, how high is the risk? And he goes, 4%.
Ah. Okay.
And I'm like, I'm sitting there, I'm like, so that means there's a 96% chance everything's gonna go over well.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of like he's like, shit, she can do math, And he was like, yes. And I was like, okay. Like I was honestly confused because of all the drama that they had put into that thing before, into that
Mm-hmm.
conversation. And eventually I chose for the 4% risk and nothing happened.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. And I have to say that I was very grateful to have been in Germany or to still be in Germany, where there were no questions asked, like in the whole
Mm-hmm.
process. Um, I was also very clear, like super clear, like, and it doesn't mean that I wasn't sad, like you say, like it was beautiful. Like I was like, oh my God, like there's life there. And I couldn't during that week, it was even my birthday week. So the irony of that, and I was walking around, I couldn't even look at small children. I would just like cry.
Mm.
And it was horrible. And I kept saying, like, can you leave on your own? But maybe I had to really go through that to also be very
Mm.
mindful then, afterwards.
Yeah. Uh, Sorry, I just wanted to interrupt, but I don't want you to lose your thought.
No, no, go ahead.
I actually, one interesting thing that I realized exactly what you said now, like your last sentence. Maybe I needed to go through this in order to be more conscious. Like, so this pregnancy was actually planned, so it wasn't accidental. Both me and my partner decided that, okay, we want to have a child, let's do it. And, it was, so it wasn't, it's like, oh, oops, something happened. It was more like, yay, it happened. Okay. However, I, I'm a very expressive person. My partner is more kind of like, man of a few words. So I know he wanted it and, and all of that, but I really did not realize how much both of us wanted this up until this happened. After, this miscarriage happened, then I kind of like it was like clear as day. Okay, what do I want? And I think that was also, I could also very clearly see in him too, like, wow, he actually really wanted this. And I think that kind of helped. Also, it helped me to kind of think all the attachments that I had while I was, in that pregnancy mode. I was like, okay, so I want my birds to look like this. I want to educate my child like that. I want to do this. Maybe it's better if it would be girl. But maybe it would be better that it would be boy. No, actually, maybe it would be better if it would be twins. Well, so kind of like almost like, precisely saying, okay, I want this. This thing is happening to me. It's already happening to me, right? And I'm actually putting out demands. I want it to look exactly like this. I want that. I want that. Blah, blah, blah. Universe, God, send me exactly as per my order. And when I'm gonna raise my child, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. Of course, I can always say like, you never know exactly how it's gonna look like when you actually gonna do it, because there is one thing theorizing, imagining, and fantasizing, and there is another thing when reality hits you. And when I lost it, I could then. It took me 2 weeks to actually have this very deep break, emotional breakthrough, like a breakdown breakthrough. Is your light off?
Yeah, I know. It doesn't matter. You can still see me, right?
I can see you. It's fine. You look great. So it took me 2 weeks of kind of like going through the horror of bleeding and kind of like cleansing of that tissue. Also, kind of still even accepting the fact, oh my God, that has happened. And after those 2 weeks, I had this kind of like a strong breakdown where I was like, okay, you know what? God, universe, whatever, I'm actually letting go. I admit I actually insisted on this, I insisted on that, I insisted on this. So I could see how many attachments, conditions, and demands I had. And when this happened, it was like, fine, I get it. I understand. I let it go. What is most important is the health, is the well-being, is good experience. That's it, right? It doesn't have to meet all of my narrow conditions and criteria and everything. So basically, I decided this is not going to be on my terms. It's a collaboration. If I agree with some soul to come through, it's a collaboration. It's not going to be just my conditions. It's actually conditions of their soul. We have two. Actually, I must add one more also, father. So parents, my body, the father, and the child soul. So there is the co-agreement of three souls that are coming in the picture. So I cannot be the only person and only soul who's making demands and conditions for this to happen.
Yeah. Hello, who just joined? Kay Whaley. I'm probably
Christy,
saying this wrong.
I know
Louise
her.
is still
She's
here.
she's
Say
one of my
hi,
best friends.
leave some hearts, and tell us if you resonate or what you don't resonate with. And as we're already talking about something that nobody speaks about, you don't have to be afraid of asking the wrong questions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the other kind of like, now that you mentioned the questions, shock that came to me after I experienced this miscarriage when I shared with people who knew about my pregnancy, how many women said me too. So statistically, it says is 1 in 4 women experiences miscarriage. Out of my experience and out of all the women that I know that knew about this miscarriage, uh, 80% of all women I spoken to who have children, they had miscarriage once, twice, or even 3 times. So, and guess what? About majority of them, I only found out for the first time when I shared what happened to me. So many people are
Wow.
actually
People who knew
hiding it.
before, but you had no idea that that happened.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
I think it's the same with abortion too. I think most people, and I understand, like, there are some level, I think, of self-judgment coming in, and also fear of being judged. I think there is lots of, because these are such a heated subjects. You almost like don't know if you can even talk about. It's kind of like you need to keep it in secret. It's almost like embarrassing that this happened to you, or you had to do it, because there are some people who you don't even know who might say what. So I think the majority of women, they decide, I'm not gonna say to anyone about this, so then nobody's gonna judge me, or nobody's gonna look down on me, or form bad opinion about me. So I think there is lots of that going on as well.
It's already a vulnerable experience. And then if somebody puts you like on the spot to have to like quote unquote defend yourself, which you shouldn't
Yeah.
actually have to in the first place, that's really uncomfortable. And I noticed that's still there even after 7 years. I had, like what I said, I have something to share, but if we're doing this live, I want to share with you live. I had the
Yeah.
strangest experience on the train the other day. I was sitting, there's like four seats, two facing each other, and then on the other side as well. And on the other seats, there were three about 20-year-olds and one older guy. And so they were all in separately. The guy didn't have anything to do with it. All of a sudden, he's talking to them. He's saying, "Can I ask you a question?" And they're like, "Yeah. What do you think about abortion?" And they're all like, "Huh?" So turns out he was an anti-abortion activist, and
Mhm.
he was like trying to tell them like how he was very smart about it, I have to say, like how this is a human being and how like in Canada now they're going to send out these pills to women that you can just order. You don't even have to see a doctor, and they want to bring this to Germany. And I was like, huh? Like, I don't
Mhm.
think so, dude. Like, what are you talking about? And I was sitting there listening to this whole conversation. I'm like, should I say something? But it was so absurd. Like, I didn't even know like what I could have said. I just felt some anger build up as well. Like, what the
Mhm.
fuck? Sorry, but do you think that you can tell these girls?
Mhm.
Like, and like going about, yeah, but what about you can have the child and then give it up to adoption?
Mhm.
Only a man can say such a thing. Like, F you. Like, seriously. I got so, but I'm like, if I'm gonna get angry now, I'm gonna expose myself to someone who did
Yeah.
it. Like, with this weird person, I don't know what I'm gonna come up against. And in
Yeah.
the end, I decided, because these girls weren't stupid. One of them was actually saying, she was actually admitting, I have psychological problems. I don't think that I would have a child now. I
Mhm.
think a child deserves to come into a place where it's safe.
Yeah.
And I don't think that if I have some sort of issues, if I'm throwing a fit, that's going to be good.
Yeah.
So I decided to stay quiet. But afterwards, I'm like, man, like, should I have said something? Like, this whole situation was so awkward to observe.
Mhm.
Like, I don't know. Do you think I should have said something? It's just like,
It with me, I'm so my son is in the Libra and I'm such a diplomat, but something happens sometimes. I have sometimes some part in me snapping and I go, I'm like something takes over my body when things enrage me. I sometimes something comes out in me and I go and I say something in the situations like that sometimes. Um, now I don't know in this situation if I would have though.
mhm.
So I don't know if I would have because people activists like that, especially so I don't have anything against men. Men is another species. Woman is another species. We all are humans, but we are different genders. Yes, we are different species. Men are from Mars. Women are from Venus. I will never say we're the same. We're different. We are very different species of the same humanoid. But for someone to come in and try to judge or have opinion about something who he will never experience. He maybe, I'm sure he is convinced in his own way, but I think it's so cruel to kind of go and judge people and, like try to explain about something, what is right to do with their own bodies, with their own lives, when he doesn't even have womb. You know, he doesn't even know what it's like to actually go through that. And, if somebody decides to go through that, it takes a lot for most women. It takes a lot of pressure, it takes a lot of stress, it takes a lot of unfavorable circumstances to do that. And I mean, without getting into any political discussion, but just kind of like on a very human level, what is responsibility? What is responsibility? Are you a good parent because that now it's going into parenthood, right? Are you a good parent because you saved the life and now that being exists but you hate it and you give them miserable life? Or you decide is not right. I can't. and I'm not gonna, so really, you know what I mean? The discussion about, what's right, what's wrong can go, whoa, from so many directions. But I think what is in that situation is like somebody who goes on a train and kind of starts off this sensitive subject with the girls who are young, they don't even have their opinion strong firmly, trying to influence them. I don't know, I don't know if I would see that those girls would, getting very anxious and whatever, I may have stepped in. But if they pretty smart and know how to stand, I would probably, allow them to handle the situation and, stay away because, he got in there and he probably had the agenda and probably he has the agenda if he's the activist, like you said.
Yeah, we changed trains and we went to a different train. They also actually took the next one with me, and I said, okay, if I'm gonna go through the train now and I'll see them, all I'm gonna say is like, look, girls, make your own decisions. Don't let anyone tell you what to do with your bodies, especially not someone from a different gender.
Yeah,
But I didn't see them then afterwards, and I'm like, I'm just gonna trust they come to their own healthy
yeah,
conclusions, whatever that means for them.
yeah, yeah,
Maybe let's come to a close.
yeah.
And I wonder, is there something that strikes you as most important to share or let other women know, like some insights that you had during the process of the last months?
Yeah, I think one of the most important, insight that I have is we are completely missing out our opportunity to connect when we decide to hide this. And this is not to say that, we're going through something so personal, something painful, and, we should expose it to the world. But there are at least probably few friends or, close women that probably you can trust talk about it.
Mhm.
And it's completely different feeling when you feel it only happened to me and it's so rare to be in this situation versus when oh my God, so many of us have been in this situation. So it doesn't really kind of, make that go away. But that when you feel that pain, that pressure, when you feel that experience kind of overwhelming you, and and then suddenly you find out, oh wow, actually, I'm not the only one who is going through that. There are so many of us. It's completely different. The context of pain changes. That kind of isolation and maybe something's wrong with me and what did I do, or whoa, why this is happening to me, changes into, okay, well, this has actually happened to so many of us. This is really painful experience, but it actually happens. The it comes with the grace, the privilege, and also with the responsibility of being incarnated in this woman body.
Mm.
We have that privilege of bringing life forward, but we also have that pain that we can sometimes experience, for whatever the circumstances coming through. So I think if we don't miss this opportunity when we are at the most vulnerable to share that, we don't need to kind of announce it in the social media like we do. We don't need to,
Well, it took me 7 years.
not necessarily saying, you go and do it, but I'm honestly telling you, if I would have known, let's say, all of those women who told me that happened to me too, if I knew that beforehand, I would already felt like I'm being held by
Mm.
the experience of those women who actually gone through that and they survived that and they are fine now, rather than thinking, oh my God, the whole hell is breaking loose on me right now, and I'm going into something so unknown, so terrible. So yeah, let's use that collective experience to share, to create connection with each other, and to make it easier for other women who will go through the same in the future to live through that. So that's my insight. How about you? Do you have anything that after, so you had 7 years, I guess you have observed, like in my circle of friends, I also have friends, other friends who have done abortion. And for me, I guess when I was in my 20s, I always thought if that would happen to me now, that's what I would do. So
That's a good question. I think it very similar to what you just said, you know, share what you're going through. And as I said, what really helped me, and I'm somehow convinced of it, and of course I cannot convince anyone of this, but is that it's a soul. You're not killing anyone. Like, that's important to me. Um, the soul decides to go for whatever reason, like you were saying before, or our bodies decide, you know, the collaboration maybe isn't ready.
yeah,
Um, and it's still gonna be around you, but also don't be afraid of processing that pain and feeling that, and don't just, you know, take it lightly. I know there are women or younger women or girls who take it too lightly a little bit, maybe. Like I think they're
yeah,
two like polar opposites where it's like, oh yeah, I can do this, and
yeah,
I would never, like, oh my God, that would be terrible. So I've also heard of uh one of my friend's exes who had like 5 abortions, and I'm like, woman, like really?
wow,
That's
yeah,
that's like, I don't promote that, you know, I wouldn't promote that at all. Um, so do process it, and try to take the gifts from it and the messages. And if you need help with that, reach out.
yeah,
Like even if you, like, some people may not have that community where they can share either your or my experience. So go online, search for someone, get a coach, get someone, because there are people to
yeah,
talk to.
yep. You're not on your own, ladies.
Yes.
We are with you.
Oh, I'm gonna give you a hug.
Yes, virtual hug. So nice to see you.
Too.
All right, my friend. I'll exit. Is there anything I need to do before?
Nope.
Guys, this is
Thank you
technical
for
part.
making, huh?
I say, guys, if you're watching, this is technical part. We're dealing with the IT now. Bye.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. And if you are not comfortable writing in the chat or in the comments of the video, please just send us a private message.
Yep.
Ruta, thank you for making time, because I know you don't schedule the evening, so thank you for fitting that in now.
No, I think it was important. This topic is actually, I felt it's not just about me.
Mm,
This experience is not just about me. Your experience is not just about you. It's us. It's like us. This is experiences of women. These are experiences of feminine embodiment. And, these are the realities that we have to deal with. And yeah, it felt important. It felt important enough to be scheduled. And if that has to be evening, then evening it is.
all right. Thank
All
you.
right, my friend. Okay, love you a lot.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.